Now we're live.
We're live?
Yep.
Okay, you're used to the deal, Antoinette. So good evening. So we're going to call the CEC meeting to order, the Community Engagement and Communications meeting. It's 7:34 p.m. And tonight we're going to have Evelyn McCormick taking notes. So I'm going to share my screen as soon as I figure out how to do that, so that we can screen. Can you guys see my screen? And
yeah.
You should see the agenda. Good? Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So we're calling the meeting to order. We're going to adopt the minutes from previous meeting. Hopefully everyone was able to get the minutes. Now I have to figure out how to get back to, great. Does anyone have any additions, corrections? I did get an email from David Warner to make some amendments to the facilities portion of the meeting. You can see here, David, I cut and pasted what you sent in, so I put that in. Okay, does anyone else have any other additions or edits at all to the meeting, to the minutes, excuse me?
Just a little thing,
Mhm.
down under questions and concerns, when we talk about posting the information about this meeting, and okay, so next to my name, it says
Chris Fallon suggestion, yeah.
include meeting dates and times on the BOE website calendar. I'd like it to say GCSD website. I want it on the front page calendar, not having to drill down through the BOE and committees, etc. It's a stupid little change, but just remove the BOE, put GCSD.
Okay,
Thank you.
edit made. Is there anything else that anyone said that anyone saw that they wanted to update or edit?
Botanico Hills should be Pocantico Hills.
Yeah, along that with David, I'd like a review for, I would like a proofreading before, or adopt contingent on a proofreading would be fine with me. I just noticed a lot of typos and some of them are missing letters that need to be updated.
Hold on, Samantha. Where are you seeing that, David?
Towards on the first page, there's a dash in front of interim ASB. Lisa Raymond spoke briefly regarding her experience.
Oh, Pocantico. Got it. TICO. Okay. And Samantha, you said, no, you're not on my.
Amy's name.
Amy Wong.
Amy's name needs a Y.
Why?
HUANG.
No, her first name.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yes. Got it. Anything else?
With a quick reading, there are 3 or 4 of those little ones, like right below you, Department of Health minimum thresholds. I would even volunteer to do a quick proof of this if it helps, just to catch some of that stuff.
That would help. Do you have access to the file?
I do. Do you want me to work on that now so we
Go
can
ahead and
move
work on
forward?
that now. We'll come back to that in the agenda.
Great.
Okay, so I'm coming out of that, I think. Okay, yes. Now I'm going to go back to our agenda, which should have here. Yes. Next, we're going to skip the adoption of the minutes. We'll come back to that. Next, we have school reopening and status of students' emotional health. And the board, the reason why I chose to put this on our agenda is because the board's received several communications from parents, community members about the reopening of schools. I watch another committee, which is the facilities committee, and that's come up several times as well. So I definitely wanted to bring this up in the CEC meeting to kind of hear back from our CEC members about this. We got a great email through another committee, I think, about the status of openings of schools. I think Miss Muldoon, you sent that email today, correct? Yeah, so that was sent earlier. Yeah, that was a great and informative article as well. Does anyone have anything they want to talk about that? And then we want to give you some information about students and emotional health.
What article are we talking about?
There was an article in the New York Times this morning that talked about ventilation. And it's something, I guess, at the facilities meetings we've been talking about a lot. Just kind of how opening the windows and having fans and having the air purifiers, and they had graphics of how it helps to disperse the spread if someone is infected in the room. So I think they're part of the, like, what would make it safe to open schools even more, have more students in. I'll find the link and I'll post it in the chat.
I have the link on my computer, Sylvia.
Okay.
That would be helpful. I see Chris
Yeah.
Fallon's hand.
Just a couple little things about the school reopening. Since we're also the communications committee, I would like, when you go to the Greenburgh GCSD website, which let me do that here so I can, the first thing that pops up is that blue banner that talks about our remote opening in September. I want that removed because if a stranger or someone who doesn't check in with the district on a regular basis sees that, they're going to think we're still full remote. If they don't watch meetings regularly, if they don't check in any further to the website or know people, I just think it's misleading and I'd like it removed or amended to a blurb on what we are currently doing.
Okay.
That's one little thing.
Good point.
It makes sense.
The second thing is we're talking about these emails that, some of us have seen because we're either on other committees or watch other meetings. I would like to request that the board members request that Dr. Reynolds give an update either at tomorrow's work session or at the meeting in 2 weeks. He did a really good job at explaining at a recent meeting, explaining why we are not currently full-time, full enrollment in the building. And I think there's just a lack of understanding in the part of the community as far as what rules we still have to follow. And maybe that could just be a few bullet points too on that front page of the website, that we still need to follow 6 feet distancing. There's like 5 things you could name very quickly. So I'd appreciate if it just gets repeated again to the community at large. I could go on, but I want to move forward. We want to keep this short. And then lastly, it'd also be helpful to know if that reopening committee that met during the summer has met at all recently. I understand that the administration thinks they can move forward, that the facilities committee is moving forward on making some adjustments, and that we think we can be working in 2 parallel tracks to make some changes. I think it would, and this is just an opinion, I could be wrong, but I think it would help with the goodwill of the community to know, maybe there should just be even a survey sent out like they did in the summer. Hey parents, if we were to consider this, or if distancing rules are made to 3 feet for the younger set, which has less respirable transmission, would you be willing to go full time? Would you remain remote? Would you want to maintain the hybrid model? Just to get a feel for what parents want. I think even if we don't bring back the committee overall, I think it'd be a good time just to do a survey to see where parents are at. And that's all I have to say right now. Thank you.
And can I just suggest something along the same lines? I think that because generally things are looking better, or at least a little bit more optimistic, now would be a really good time for the district to, the administration, to present to the board what is the latest with safety precautions, and who's going to school when, and what are we going to change a month from now. I just think it's an opportune time for that.
I think it's really important to give monthly updates.
Yeah.
Where are we? What do you envision doing? And where are we at that point? Because what happens, you get a notice, okay, we're going to be hybrid this month or till the whatever date, or we're going to be, it's really very disconcerting. And I'm not even someone with a child in my home. So I think it's important to everybody to have constant updates.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on basically the 2 points that were raised in terms of communication and in terms of opening. I see from the minutes there was a comment made that what else would be helpful to battle disinformation. There are websites all over, And if you try to contradict everything that people say on website, you get nowhere. The thing is to have your own website, the school website, and make sure that the information on that website is frequent. First of all, is accurate, is timely, is frequently updated, and that's what you go by. You can't go, all these people post anything on the website, and you can't go tracking it. You just have to make sure your information is timely, accurate, transparent, and you make sure that's done. The other thing in terms of reopening the school, it goes in a Time article, which is very good, and it talks about the benefit of circulation of the air in the building. And if you have a HEPA filter on there, what you could really do a good job in improving the air quality. And this is where I feel that you cannot separate facilities from opening the school. For instance, if you would just take the Times article that says that if you put in a HEPA filter in the window to recirculate those air, a good quality HEPA filter is about $1,000, right? If we're buying it in bulk, say 30% off, $700. How many windows do we have in all the buildings? 500, 700? But anyway, if you're talking about, someplace close to $1 million for the filters, then you might have to do some electrical wiring. So when you add that in, you're probably talking $1.5 to $2 million just to put the HEPA filters in every room. That's a capital expenditure. So you can't separate opening up the schools from a capital expenditure of the facilities committee. And that was my whole point. They're not separate issues.
It's the same issue.
Co-issues. You can't do one without the other. And as I said in my email, I do a reasonably good job in keeping up with what's happening, COVID. I'm no expert at it, but the consensus is, that come September, we're going to be in relatively good shape to seriously considering opening the schools at full time. So now we have to plan for that. If we go to buy the HEPA filters, you can't wait until the middle of the summer and say, oh, we can start doing it. So that's what I'm saying. If you're seriously thinking about opening up the schools, you have to start thinking that way. What are you going to do?
Thank you, Mr. Simon. I see Antoinette's hand up and Samantha Ives' hand up.
Okay, my question was, Evelyn, to Evelyn, and you may not know or not, I was just curious, Evelyn, because I know you work with other districts, and all districts are different and unique, but I'm just curious, were there anything that kind of sticks out to you that you've seen as best practices in regards to reopening?
Well, I think that the main thing that I've seen is consistent presentations to the board on reopening, usually from obviously the buildings person, and the budget people. But almost at every board meeting in other districts that I've worked with this year, they've had an update on, whether people are learning remotely, how many kids are learning remotely, any changes they're making in the schedule. So I don't know, I don't know what people are doing at this very minute, but I have a feeling a lot of districts are repositioning themselves because things are starting to look a lot better, a little bit better. And I know districts are already talking about September and planning for September. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I just got your message, Samantha.
Oh, that's
now.
all I raised my hand for.
Okay. David, did you have something to say? You look like you were.
I'm busy reconfiguring tomorrow night's facilities presentation in my head to make sure that there's a school reopening topic. That's what's happening. So you just see a bunch of gears grinding. So yes, we can do a little bit on that. Obviously, I'm going to talk about the ECP main building and what we have to do to move the ECP kids back, since that's the main thing the facilities have to do. There's a whole bunch of stuff in regarding filtering and all of that, and the short-term and the long-term solutions in terms of maintaining ventilation quality and what's in phase one, in terms of like making the RJ Bailey temporary fan solution into a permanent solution and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of at a slight distance from us, but I can certainly work that in.
Okay.
Sorry, and just one more point on this. Combined with when I was mentioning if Dr. Reynolds could give an update at one of the upcoming meetings, if within that chat, there's a lot of chit chat out there among parents about what other school districts are doing. A lot of it is half, I don't want to say half truths or misinformation, but a lot of it is, there's a lot of differences between our district and other districts. And he did a good job at it. Again, I don't remember which meeting, but at a recent meeting explaining why every school can do the same thing. We have small ECP classrooms. We have ECP. Many districts that have brought kindergarten and first grade back don't have preschool, let alone preschoolers in their building. So if you could just kind of recap again why we're doing what we're doing, what we hope to be doing. And I'll just reiterate, if the full committee isn't going to meet, the reopening committee, I think there at least need to be posted updates on what discussions are. I've seen various school districts posting not only what Evelyn was saying about having updates at meetings, but posting on the website what those updates are, just to be transparent and keep people informed.
So Chris, I hear you actually suggesting a recommendation, right? So our committees usually bring recommendations to the full board. And so the recommendation I heard is one, having Dr. Reynolds go back and do a good update for people on why we're not full-time, full enrollment in the building, why we're doing it, what we're doing, and what is actually being intended for in the future. And then the second thing, is about the reopening committee and whether or not that committee is meeting. If not, giving an update of some sort. So I'm hearing, why does
Or a survey.
Two separate things. Oh yeah, survey is here too.
Either a committee meeting, or if admin's handling one arm and finance facilities are handling another, at least a survey of parents to see where they're at.
So do we as a committee want to make those two recommendations?
Yes.
For a survey?
Yes.
Is everyone in agreement with
Yes.
that? Does anyone feel like they
Yes.
don't want to make that recommendation?
I'd like to change the first part to a request for information. I don't want to feel like I'm tasking him with, please. That's just me. It's a request for information from the first part.
Okay.
Well, it's actually much better to do it consistently. If I know for instance, I can say you get your times every day at a certain time in front of your door. If you know weekly you're going to get an update, you'll not get the same questions all the time. Because what happens, people are asking each other. Everybody has half of the information. Some have none of the information, but they think they do. If we knew that we could go somewhere and update, say monthly, weekly, whatever you want to do, and this is where we are, and this is the latest, and based upon that, this is what we're doing. A good idea too is to find out how many of our staff members have been vaccinated. A lot of them have, some of them haven't. That also is a good idea.
But you have HIPAA in there.
That's
so
what I'm thinking.
No, but you can just say, just ask if they were willing to. You don't have to have names. You don't have to have, just say how many, and they don't have to say who they are or how old they are.
I could be wrong. That
You want to have accurate numbers. That's misinformation.
Because the teachers don't have to inform the district.
Exactly.
That's true. That's true. The only thing is that what I'm hearing from the unions is they're concerned about the staff being sick.
Hmm.
So, that's a two-edged sword then.
Okay, I see Antoinette, was your hand up? No, okay. So I am gonna though ask Antoinette and David just to give any feedback, because I heard Chris, you said a lot of things. As far as recommendations to our board, I have definitely the survey sounds like a clear recommendation. And the second would be a request for information or just an update, as well as consistent updates following, whether it's once a month, publicly, whatever, on the status of reopening. Is that accurate? Okay. And David, Antoinette, is that what you're hearing as well? Is that what?
Yes.
Okay.
And let's remove that thing from the website.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to.
Remove the blue banner, you said, right?
Or
change
update.
Update it.
Okay,
Ideally.
I gotta open it and look myself because I don't see that off the top of my head. Okay, so let's get back to the agenda. Thank you guys for talking through that portion with us. And next on the agenda, we have the status of student mental health. So I'm not sure if everyone on this committee knows, although you probably do because you're all tuned in, that our Woodlands Middle High School did a survey on mental health, mental and emotional health. And it was a survey that our students filled out and our parents filled out, looking at students working from home virtually and how it's affecting them. And the part for the parents was, how do you think it affects your children? And that survey had a result, and I put the link. I don't know whether or not anyone was able to open it and look at the challenge success, the results of the survey, but I did put the link in the agenda. You can also Google it and find the challenge success .org results for the Kids Under Pressure, it's called. But most importantly, what we wanted to share with you is that our students were on NBC. We had some high school students. There were several of them that did a panel that talked about virtual learning and how that affects them, as well as there was another segment special that highlighted one of our seniors, Kendi Cato, and her mother, and talking about the results of their survey with regard to the stress that Kennedy was under and the way that her mother thought it had Kennedy, and it had another senior, I think from another part of New York or maybe Connecticut. And so that was very interesting. Did anyone get to see the special, or maybe didn't see the special?
Oh, yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, we saw it.
Yeah, it was excellent. Okay.
Actually, there were two, right? There was the one with larger numbers of kids, and then there was the one with just a couple, right?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, there
nice.
was one with Kennedy and her mom, and it was so illuminating because Kennedy said her stress levels were at an 8, and her mom was like, "Oh, I think her stress levels are probably at a 4 or a 5." So it was really about the disconnect between parents and kids. You know, it was great.
And also and it's funny because as a parent, I was thinking, yeah, how are my kids doing? Because we talk to them, right? But we also measure based on their performance, if they're acting different or not. And I don't know if anyone caught in there, Kennedy, they said, would you be surprised to know that your mom didn't know you were under that much stress? She goes, oh no, because my grades are good. You know, she keeps her grades up. She's behaving. Oh, someone just put the link. Thank you, Laser, in the chat. She keeps her grades up. She's functioning. So mom is thinking you're doing okay. So that as a parent, that was very illuminating, right? Does anybody else want to give any feedback about that special?
No, I mean, I just think it was a good
Steve's got his hand up.
opportunity for people to see how kids, our kids in particular here, but just to see how young people are really dealing with it. And it's an eye opener to know that there needs to be some really strong social emotional supports in schools, but also I feel like we should be pushing into the homes and providing more resources for families as
There
well.
was there was a whole section in the Times about mothers feeling extremely stressed
Yeah,
because they feel that they're getting it from all ends.
yeah.
I see Mr. Morton's hand up.
Yeah, I was actually very happy to see the program. I would have liked to having two boys. I would have liked to seen the boys represented. As a matter of fact, I think they did it on purpose because they tend to go toward the women and the girls when they want certain reactions. And being in the media, I know how this works. So I would have liked to seen the boys because they almost give the impression the boys are okay. And then right now, when you have all these problems with all the young men, I think that they're playing games in the media. So I think the boys are under more stress than the girls.
I would agree with that. And I see, well, I don't know about more or less, but I do agree that it would be nice to see the boys. And I saw someone put a clapping hand up as well. In a group.
I hope that there maybe, Steve, they'll have an expose next month or something with boys. I have a boy, I'm telling you, and he is the most sweetest, kindest person, but we wanted to kill each other at one point when we were in here. So the stress levels are high for both of them, for, you know, all children.
Yeah.
Tracy, this is Kiana. I wanted to ask a question. I know on Fridays, Woodlands High School, they commit to SEL, but I'm wondering, what do the other schools do? And is there a way that we can maybe bring the SEL that it's not just, I'm not saying it's just on Friday, but it's presented to the parents and community as if it's just on Friday? It probably could be every day, but what is the SEL plan for the district, knowing that all of us through this whole year have gone through levels of stress, grief, mourning, just a whole bunch of feelings, right? So then what is the district's plan to continue social emotional learning from pre-K to 12th grade? What type of strategies are we using? And how can the families, like Antoinette just said, how can we bridge the families, the community, and the school district together to support one another? So I don't know if that's a recommendation or something we could talk about another time, but we do need to really focus as we're reopening, need to focus on social emotional learning. How does that look 365 days, even though the school is not 365, but how does that look 365?
Okay, that's a good question. I know Evelyn's gonna take notes and put that in there, but I'm also gonna highlight that for the end of like the question part to make sure that's listed in there, like moving forward to make sure that that's something in the reopening plan. Someone mentioned to me, and I can't remember who, I get so many random calls sometimes, but someone mentioned the possibility to have that kind of talk with 6 different students, to have that type of thing ongoing, where maybe you could pull students together and just have a discussion and have it even televised, have them interviewed the same way that they did that NBC special, that you could do that, you know, schools could do that. I guess even on the Bailey level, they could do that as well, and just having kind of feedback groups from students about how they're doing. And I thought that was a good suggestion as well. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
And then I'm so sorry, real quick. It would be nice if going forward that we show all of our students. So I know NBC, it might have been last minute, you know, you get who you can get, but just even have representation from one of our white students would have been really nice, because it was beautiful up there. It was Latinas, it was African Americans, Asian, and I just felt like that piece makes Greenburgh what Greenburgh is, that we are all together. So just to even be able to represent that to like the world, especially in this horrible social injustice, racial injustice time, that's what Greenburgh is about. So that's another pointer, as if you think to do something in the future to represent all of our students.
Tracy, maybe it could be some sort of like a road show, like you go from one school to the next and sort of do something like that, so that we are getting, you know, I think we'll be surprised even what the youngest students may say as well. So I think it's an opportunity to kind of see how kids are at all levels, how they are doing.
Okay. I see Chris and Steve's both, and have your pleasure. I don't know whose hand up was first. I'm sorry.
Oh, I have mine up before it. So
Okay.
I second what Kiana was saying, especially about the white issue and everybody in between. I think that really, I mean, I've had this conversation with many of you before, that the district gets represented. And this is something that moving forward, we have to work on.
I'm muted, sorry. Okay, thank you. And Chris, you're next.
I'm going to piggyback on the other part of what Kiana said. Sometimes we've heard some SEL presentations. I like what Antoinette's saying about a road show, because I feel like we've heard little about what's happening at the elementary schools. That's the piece I feel like I'm missing. But again, piggybacking on Kiana, and the other piece I'm missing, I feel like, is I'd like to hear from the social workers or the psychologists. We've heard from the teachers and the admin what they're doing. I want to hear, maybe not stats, but like, are we making proactive phone calls? You know, how many students are we reaching out to? Are we, you know, connecting them to community services that could be helping them in the home? Are we, if they have a grandparent at home who's having a hard time getting a vaccination appointment, you know, are we connecting them with services in the neighborhood? Or maybe that's not our job, the social worker job, I don't know. But that's the piece I feel like I haven't heard lately, as well as the elementary. To your point about the 6 students chatting, I think the high school, middle school does a good job with that, as far as the program that Ms. Jackson brought in, the EMH2. But again, I'd like to hear the elementary. Maybe they need to have more of those girls clubs or mentor groups. I know they were beginning mentor groups last year. I just don't know what's happening now in COVID days. So thank you. And good suggestion, Kiana.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're gonna move on. And let's just see what's next on the agenda. Sorry, I was in another document here. Okay, before we go on to an update for the superintendent, the minutes are now corrected. And so I'm gonna share my screen again and bring up the minutes. And then I'm gonna need a motion to adopt the minutes. So let me know if you could see my screen, please.
Yes.
Okay, Samantha made various spelling corrections. I'm just gonna try to scroll through it fairly slowly so you guys can look through them. And Samantha highlighted 3 areas where there were questions. I tried to fix them based off of my memory. So I'm just going to scroll through quickly so we don't spend too much time on them. And then I'm going to need a motion when I get down to the bottom. If I'm going too fast, please tell me. Here was one of the questions. Maybe someone will remember. I think the recommendation, this was back in January. This was the questions that came from November. So it was to cease in-person instruction until after Martin Luther King Day. I think that was the suggestion at that time. And then another one was a suggestion, I think it was for the subcommittee for Darden Cintron, Jackie, Chris Fallon, Laser, or Miguel as committee members. If anyone remembers that differently, speak now. Okay, so I'm going to need a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries and the minutes are adopted. Thank you so much, Samantha. I would really like a standing secretary for this committee because someone recording. I mean, David, I love the way that you record minutes. You're super detailed, but I don't know if he wants to record for this meeting as well. But we rotate people every meeting, and last meeting it got a little crazy. We had two separate people doing the minutes, and then I kind of had to glue them together, and that didn't work too well. So is anyone feeling the urge to volunteer? Anyone? No? Okay. All right. So right now we have Miss Evelyn doing the minutes. And so I'm going to ask you all to think about volunteering before the end of this meeting for the next meeting. So Antoinette, can you give us an update on the district superintendent search, please?
Okay, so a quick update. So I guess since the last meeting, what has happened? I would guess say from the last meeting, what has happened, we did have a community forum where we had the two finalists. Their profiles are actually still on the website, so people can still have the opportunity to view them. But we had the profiles on the website. We had the community forum. We garnered questions from all parts of our community, civic associations, the churches, a variety of different places. The town supervisor also shared the survey link. So we had great outreach so that we can get questions from the community. Those questions were used during the community forum. Once the forum ended, then there was a link available for people to submit their opinions about how the candidates responded to questions and what they had to share. The impression survey actually was used as the board deliberated. So they were very important for us to get, and we really appreciate it. It helped to inform our final decision. And last week we interviewed both candidates, and we made a decision, and we had a resolution to appoint Dr. Dennis O'Hara. Again, that's subject to a contract that will be negotiated and an agreement with that. And I think overall, we'd like to just thank the community for their question. I mean, they were really, really good questions. So their questions, participating in the forum, and especially the impression survey, that was something that we did take into great consideration as well. So thank you.
Okay, and now next on the agenda, and I know we're short on time, we have a letter writing campaign that came up at the Fiscal and Facilities Committee. And David's gonna, in 3 minutes or less, update everyone on that.
Okay, so basically what's been happening at the state level is that there was a large and complex proposal by the governor as to how to finance everything. And in various cases, he has taken federal aid and put it in place of state aid and withdrawn that state aid. He's also continued to do a couple of things that he's done in previous years. So for example, you have, I think, 11 or 12 different types of aid that vary depending upon how much you use the aid. And what he wants is to have a flat amount that he hands out to each district, and he'll subtract a certain amount of that due to federal funding. And then when the federal funding goes away, the amount will fall, and you also won't be able, if you have greater needs, to get greater aid. So for these reasons and some others, it's probably a good idea to go and push back prior to the budget vote, the big ugly, that's usually around April 1st. So we need to talk to our assemblyman, our senator, and the governor's office. And there are two ways of doing that are easy to look at. You can write a letter of your own by Googling. There's a group called the Association of School Board Officials, ASBO, expresses concerns. If you were to Google ASBO expresses concerns, you'll see an article that will describe all of this stuff. There's another even more automated way to do this, and Chris Vallon pointed this out, the Westchester Putnam School Board Association, WPSBA. So if you Google WPSBA voter voice, one word, voter voice, then it will take you immediately to an automated setup where it will give you bullet points on all the things that that the Westchester Putnam School Board Association thinks need to be fixed in the governor's proposal, and it will allow you to feed in your own email address, copy or change whatever you want, and send things out in a quick and automated fashion. So that's the way to do it for now. We're going to try and put something up on the on our district website in a little while, but right now, if you want to go forward with that, there it is.
Thank you, David. And you are there again to talk about testing.
Could I
David?
just add to what David said?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
You know, Stuart Cousins and Abernathy, they come into the district frequently. We know their telephone number. Why not just, in addition to everything that David said, call them up? Chase have their personal telephone number. Call them up.
No objection here. Okay. And the other item that I wanted to talk about really briefly was what happens with New York State tests. You know, we have RI ready, and we have various internal measurements of how the students are performing. But last year, almost all of the state tests were put on hold. And so the question was, were we going to do the same thing this year? And of course, there's federal aid that gets passed down and to the states to us, and as a result of that, the ESSA requirements are that that we have testing or not have testing. And in the previous year, the Secretary of Education said, okay, no testing this year. And the question is, was that going to happen this year? And this year, no. There's the Miguel Cardona's coming back in, and they basically said, well, we don't think it should count against you, but we need to know where students stand generally. So we urge that there be some form of testing. So there's not going to be any federal blanket shutdown of testing. Now, people at the state level feel like maybe we're harder hit by COVID than some other states, and there are inequities in terms of who can and cannot get their numbers in and get access to their students, and therefore there are appeals being filed at the state level to the federal government to have us maybe forego that. There's a request to waiver the state from statutory requirements of administering state tests at the elementary, middle school, and high school levels, which includes end of course exams such as the Regents examinations. Additionally, the state requested that the administration of NYSIS slot be given only to those English language learners who can safely participate. A second waiver request was made to eliminate the requirement to assign a level 1, 2, 3, 4 to each accountability subgroup for each indicator. And upon approval of either or both of these waivers by the U.S. Department of Education, NYSED will seek an additional waiver from certain ESSA reporting requirements pertaining to assessment and accountability. So that's where it stands. They have 120 days to come back from the appeal, and we'll see if they maybe answer yes or no sooner, because we sure need to know sooner than that, because testing season is coming. So that's where the issue stands.
Thank you so much for that update, David. Anyone have any questions or feedback? I know we lost someone because we were at 19 and now we're at 18. I don't know who though. Okay, so no feedback on testing at all. Next, we have that Nettie Jackson Extra Mile Award, and this is the award that our committee does every single year. I'm going to share my screen again very quickly for you all to see the write-up. Okay, here you go. The Nettie Jackson, Extra Mile Award is a compassionate and tireless, Nettie Jackson, was a compassionate and tireless lifelong advocate of quality education for all children. She was a concerned and activist parent, a community leader, a public school secretary, a union president, and a personal mentor to scores of students in the Greenburgh Central School District. In her honor, the Nettie Jackson Extra Mile Award recognizes members of the Greenburgh CSD community who consistently perform outstanding service beyond their regular responsibilities, and position for the benefit of the students and to the goal of excellence in education in the district. This award is presented annually by the Superintendent of Schools and the Board of Education. So that is the Nettie Jackson Extra Mile Award. That write-up is right on our Board of Education's page, but we need volunteers, and the volunteers tend to come from this committee, as well as work alongside with the superintendent to provide. We've had years where we had one recipient. We've had years where we had 3 or 4 recipients as well. I know people on this call were recipients. Mary Spells dropped off. That must have been who we lost. I know she was a recipient. I've been a recipient. I think Chris Vallon, you were a recipient one year, right? Anyone else on the call has been a recipient? No?
And what do
yeah,
those
I
volunteers
was.
do?
It might be your year, huh?
And
Yeah,
what
I
do-
was too.
Yeah, yeah.
Laser? Laser, you were a recipient. So definitely people who are in the district who volunteer, who do, above and beyond what they're called to do as a parent or community member, as well as staff. Very often we also recognize staff members who go above and beyond their employed duties, which is laser. So who is willing to volunteer, since none of you want to be secretary, who wants to be on this committee where you read this?
I'll volunteer.
Oh, I see hands. Okay, that's great. So I see Antoinette, I see Fab, BGB, that's Rosetta. Does anyone else? We need more than 2.
I'll volunteer.
Jessica Muldoon, Vera Lee Woodward, and Sylvia Simon. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. I think that's perfect because 5 is an odd number. Vote on who should get the award and who would not, and you'll work alongside with the superintendent. Usually you'll have at least one phone or Zoom call conference. I know in the past when I served on the committee to nominate, you'll get the submissions. People will nominate people. And you'll get those submissions and you'll read them, and then you'll determine how many people are going to receive the award and which people would receive the award. Antoinette, I see your hand up.
I guess my question is, I'm wondering, I feel like because it's COVID and we're not like out in the field of our community, we do need to figure out a way how we can really promote this so that we can catch stories that we may not even be aware of that's happening in our community. So I'm not sure exactly what to do, but we have to make sure that this is out there in every place that we can put it, because we might struggle finding someone, but I'm pretty sure there are stories of hometown heroes all throughout, and we just don't know who they are.
Good idea.
Okay, and David, can you update us? Did we have a winner last year? Who won last year?
I think it was, I don't want to say the student's name. I believe he graduated, but he played football. Erica, wasn't it?
Erica
was
Anderson.
her first name? Yeah.
Erica Anderson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. You jogged my memory. I have COVID brain. Okay.
Tracy, Chris has her hand up, just so you know.
All right.
Yes.
It's Erica. It was Erica Anderson and the Greenburgh Cares Committee last year.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. The people who distributed the food.
And Greenburgh Cares. Wonderful.
Sorry, I don't mean to be picky, but you know me, I'm a detail person. When you go to the Nettie Jackson page, because you've got 5 people plus the superintendent, which is 6. The page basically says the committee of 5 members will be organized. 5 members, which includes the district superintendent, a representative of the board, and 3 from the committee. 3 people from the community.
I'm going to share my screen again. Okay.
So I'd just like to point that out.
Is this down here?
Criteria.
Even number of people. And I'd also like to state, as another picky little thing, in the past, we've had discussions about, can people on the selection committee nominate people? And I don't know if it's set in stone. I would advocate that technically no, because that's kind of a conflict of interest. People who are making the choice shouldn't be nominating.
I agree.
I back Antoinette, we need to get the word out. That's
I agree with that too.
I do too.
That's why it's important. We got to get the word out like crazy so we have people to really select from.
So thank you, Thank you, Chris, for bringing me back to the rules here on this page. I should have brought that up first when I was reading the.
So which people of the five want to be people who beat the bushes instead of act as judges?
So it's the district superintendent, a representative of the Board of Ed. So the Board of Ed rep is going to be Antoinette. We have our superintendent, and then 3 individuals. So I got 4 of you that are going to duke it out here. So who wants to? Does anyone want to concede since we only?
I can step off this year and do it next year.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Muldoon. So we still have Brizetta. We have, I saw Sylvia Simon and Mr. Steve Morton, right? Am I correct?
I thought it was Vera Lee Woodward.
Fairly
Sorry, Mr. Morton. Sorry, Ms. Woodward. Okay, so I got Vera Lee Woodward.
I don't want to speak for them. That's just what I heard earlier.
So those are the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you for the clarification, Chris. And the next thing is, out of you 5, you cannot nominate anyone. So you understand that, okay? Jessica got off the committee. She was nice, so now she can nominate people.
You can nominate people, right?
Yes. Okay, so I agree that we need to advertise everywhere that we can for this as well. Okay, so let's move on. I'm going to stop sharing my screen again and get back to the agenda. Next, and we're really short on time. We're 5 minutes to our planned deadline. The website subcommittee, that is Miss Samantha Ives and Miss Antoinette Darden-Cintron. The Board of Ed did approve the subcommittee, so that's you 2. And I guess if you would like to add anyone else, we'll send a request to the board to approve that, but I guess you can start working with people. Do you guys have anything you want to say, start with? Just introduce yourselves.
We haven't had, well, one, we need to find time to come together. So I'll email you, and this way we can exchange phone numbers and see from there. Samantha, I don't know if you think about this. I would say maybe if anybody on the committee, if you have some areas that you might want to suggest to us, so maybe we can have like a starting point of places we can look of any suggestions.
So yes, and to build on that, just to get what was in my brain into something shareable, I did start a Google Doc. It's not public at this point, but I did send it to Antoinette and Tracy to just let them know it existed. And what I have, it's not pretty, but what I have is a page of suggestions, things that are wrong with the website, a page of suggestions on how to fix that, and a page on things we like. So websites of other schools, web formats of other websites, things that we should be looking at for reference. And I don't know how into the weeds we're going to want to get, but I figured the more we have to bounce around with, the more ideas we can start to proactively use. So even as far as just having that, I'm also just happy to take phone numbers, text messages, ping me on Facebook and tell me what you see that you want to change. And even if, I can just add it to the document and let it live until we figure out what we're going to do with it.
Good idea, living document.
Chris Fallon and Brizetta's hand up, and that's it.
Evelyn's hand is up too.
Oh, Evelyn's hand? Okay.
Who wants to go, Chris?
All right, I'll go first.
I'll go, okay.
Well, first of all, I wanted to know if I could be on the subcommittee. I don't know if that's something that is allowed, but because I technically, work a little bit for the district and also Laser, I'm wondering if you want the both of us on that subcommittee. I have a lot of, one project I happen to be working on right now is I'm auditing school district communications for a national organization. And I work with them on their, what's wrong with their websites. Right now I'm doing a district in Iowa. So it's interesting, but I also have access to a lot of websites that we can look at. But also, I think this is also the reason I think Laser might want to consider being in this subcommittee is that it's not only about the website, it is about the workflow of the website. You can't get a website done unless it's very clear who does what. And I think Laser would wholeheartedly agree with me that that has been a little bit confusing,
Yeah.
especially I would say in the past couple of years, Laser, maybe even longer. But you know, it's a big job. It takes, in my personal opinion, it takes more than one person, at least part-time, each person. But Laser has a lot to do, and
No, most schools have their own webmaster.
yeah.
I mean, I started moving teachers over to Google Pages so they could manage their own pages, even some of the directors and administrators, because to be getting calls to, oh, I need to add this, and in the middle of the day, and they want it done now because parents are hounding them to get it changed. It could be a lot sometimes. So I'm good with that.
So, I mean, are you okay with another committee, Laser?
Oh yeah, listen, I'm used to this, but that's fine.
Not that you guys have to have a lot of meetings, because it sounds like you'll have a living document where people can add things, right? So that doesn't mean.
But Evelyn makes a
brings me
very
down.
good point, because what happens, and I hear with different reiterations of websites, and it starts out well, and then it just kind of fizzles.
Yep.
And she's right. You need to stay on top of it in terms of keeping it fresh. 'Cause otherwise, you'll do a great job, and then same thing will happen again.
Yeah.
I would love
Yeah,
for this.
Speaking,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
For the sake of the time of this meeting, I would love to just put my email address in the chat so that these thoughts can come to me and move into this living document, and then the subcommittee can have it as a continuing conversation, because I don't want to take too much time tonight. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Just have one thing to say regarding what Evelyn said. You said that you work with a lot of school districts. It's a pet peeve. All of us are very familiar with the abbreviations and acronyms, but when we address the public, I think we need to say what things are.
Exactly.
Just like we were saying, SEL, people in the public may not know that.
Right.
And I've
My
seen it in
my husband must have whispered in your ear, because he gets furious, because he says, you educators know.
It's almost like
That's
we're
right.
elitists. You don't want to be elitist. You want to be inclusive.
It makes
So
him
just,
crazy.
that's something that we need to have in all written communications.
Yeah,
Thank you,
you're
Mr.
right.
Simon.
You're
Yeah, we're here,
absolutely-
Mr. Simon, we're here. So
Absolutely
just be
right.
aware. Thank you.
Sorry. And Evelyn actually touched on what I was going to talk about. I think the first priority has to be understanding the workflow, because it's changed over the years. And I think within that understanding the workflow, I think we need to have administration clear some things that can go straight to the web. For example, pet peeve, we talk about this every year, every meeting for 5 years. Tonight's meeting was nowhere on social media. I think if you just had a bullet point of meeting information and contact Ivy or contact whoever, that wouldn't need to get whatever the approval levels are for posting things on social media or the website. I feel like that could be something that skips the approvals and can get posted right away, because it's just factual information about a meeting. So within understanding the workflow to changing the website, I think we need to understand what can be a direct line without going through those levels. And the last thing I want to say is, within our website, I hope everyone understands that we bought like a website format. There's only so many things we can change within the format we bought. So identifying the information that needs to go on the front page or wherever is the key, not like how do we make it prettier. We have to kind of stick to the format we have. Thank you.
Okay.
So Chris, wait, Tracy, let me ask one question. So Chris, you're saying, for instance, for any committee, if you had the standard graphic, date, time, that means if a committee was coming up, that could be blasted. It's basic information.
Yeah.
Get up there and that's it. Okay.
Yeah, and I'd include that verbiage that we have on, I don't want to pull on that one sentence or two sentences we have about, if you want more information about the committee, contact Ivy Kraus or whatever, just so people who can't join the meeting and might want to have a point of contact. Yes, that's exactly.
Thank you. And Kiana Washington's been sitting patiently there with your.
Oh, that's okay. No, I agree with Chris. I didn't want to belabor the point, because Samantha said she was going to put something in the chat so that we can, but I definitely agree with Chris and with Evelyn of the amount of work for a website. So I will put my ideas on the Google Sheet. I will, obey, and then hopefully we can have this discussion another time.
I just need names for anyone who's interested in actually working on the committee. I have Laser's name there, Evelyn's name, anyone else interested in on that specific website committee. I see Steve's name there. Miguel, correct?
Yeah.
And
Yes, I'm on it.
Miguel's on, and anyone else? Kiana, do you want to be on that subcommittee?
I'll be on that subcommittee.
Steve, I hope we'll get some art out of you.
Yeah.
So I'll submit these names. It will not be on tomorrow's Board of Ed meeting because I'm not within my 5-day limit. They have pushed back on me several times and I'm starting to obey. So yes, and what that is you have to have 5 days in between when you make a recommendation for something to get on the agenda.
Makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
Why?
Oh, sorry. So you have to have 5 days. So I can request for something to be on my.
I see myself.
Oh, okay. My Board of Ed agenda, but you have to wait 5 days. So if I request it tonight, it'll go on not tomorrow's meeting, but the meeting 2 weeks later. Okay. Let's see here. Next thing on our agenda. Oh, we're at the end. Community comments, concerns, and questions. I see Samantha's hand up.
Quickly, and this goes back to our letter writing campaign. PTA is in our advocacy. PTA is a lobbying group for anybody who doesn't know this. We're in our advocacy season now, and Ms. Davis, Pamela Davis, and I are actually meeting with a small group of Weber, Westchester, East Putnam region leaders with Assemblyman Avenatti tomorrow morning and having these conversations with him. So in your letter writing campaign, feel free to identify yourself as someone who has a seat at the table, because Greenburgh has a seat at the table.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we need to have our name out there. So when make sure you're saying where you're from, because they need to, our community, our school district needs to ring in their ears. Like, oh, this is from Greenburgh.
And I see Kiana Washington's hand up, but I'm not sure if this is from before.
No, I lowered my hand and put it back up. So I have a concern that we can kind of talk about another time. The sciences at Woodlands High School, at this time, they are not offering AP Bio or AP Environmental. Last year, we didn't have physics. So I'm very, very concerned about our science programs and the offerings. All of our students should have exposure to all subject areas, especially in the sciences. So as a committee, I would just like that to be brought up to the Board of Education as we move into our future, because I literally want my son Jaden to be able to take AP Bio. So that's personal, but then overall, we should never have a lack of any type of science classes for our students.
Okay, that definitely will have that in the requests and comments from this committee, but there is also a educational, Lord, we changed all our committee names this year. I did the Education and Wellness.
I know, I think that one meets earlier. I think I'm not able to make those meetings, so I wanted to bring it up as a concern.
Thank you. No, we will put
They
that
don't
in
have
there.
a meeting schedule. The education committee doesn't have a meeting scheduled, so.
Oh, it doesn't have a date. Antoinette, you're on that committee. Do you know the next meeting or you guys don't have it yet? Okay, but we will definitely put it in our comments, and then also just so the public knows, there's also a committee where they should bring this up.
I'm sorry. Also, they
Give
used
me
to
the
have
name of that.
I'm so
Excuse
sorry,
me.
Mrs. Simon. They used to have a science research program also that was connected with Westchester Medical Center and SUNY Albany. So that's something that was there, maybe probably like now 5 years ago, but it would be nice to bring that back also.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, as a retired scientist, I totally agree with what Mrs. Washington said. I was part of the science committee, and quite frankly, I was disappointed in that the science never achieved, well, at least in my mind, was the goal, in that we would start science at an early age. We would have these science fairs, but we will build upon the science fairs. And so by the time a child get up to high school, they will have a strong scientific foundation, and so they could take the honors physics and advanced science courses, and even offer a course, an honors course, that the course itself was the curriculum needed to send your research project to now the Regeneron project.
Yeah.
And it started, but we never really advanced it past the annual science fair, but we were never able to really get that integrated into the curriculum. So you have a strong science program from kindergarten all the way up to your senior year. So I totally agree. That's something we have to look at. And for our district to not have a course in, say, in physics is something that it just cannot continue.
I would just add real quick, if the PTA who is meeting with the region, you know, the region director is from Ossining. I know they have a very strong connection to Regeneron, so maybe we can get some information, some tips.
That's right.
In regards to that.
And you see, and that's what I was trying to look at, because it took Ossining 15 years. That's what it takes. It's a long-term commitment from the early grades, and now every year they have someone.
And I see
Not only that, you have to have a strong science department in terms of the people that you hire, and really looking for good people that can deliver good instruction.
Okay, I see Steve Morton's hand, and Amy Wang also has her hand up. So I don't know who.
You know, coming in, I have a 10th grader now, many of you know. We started talking about the science program when my 10th grader was in kindergarten. The district and the administration and everybody else always does a little bit of the wave. They go, oh yeah, bring you down. Oh yeah, bring you down. And I agree with Walter and what Kiana said. Here we are in Greenburgh, where they're bringing in Regeneron, and the three more companies about to come in.
Exactly.
And Tesla has come in. And one of the biggest reasons we've had Bright Flight is because the science program is lagging. But it seems like all they do is talk in the administration and board, and they go and so on, and then we move on. And now I'm sitting here with my son in 10th grade, and we don't have the advanced biology and everything else in the physics. You know, it's something that we really need to say, what's wrong with the administration and the board here? What's wrong with the curriculum? Because it's just a lot of talk. And I'm here to witness, because I've been saying this in kindergarten. We had a science committee. Walter and I were on that committee. And Kiana and I were on. So it goes like this, and will it go around in circles, where people in the district get tired of the Billy Preston, will it go around in circles? So it's really time. You got Tesla, it's right next door to RJ Bailey.
Right.
That's huge. That's bigger than most people will ever imagine. And yet nobody's even pulling for it now. So let's move. Let's get the administration and the board to kick.
Thank you. Okay, and Amy?
Yes, and I agree with what Stephen's saying. And it's the same thing that I harp on every year. Where's the continuity? I thought there was physics. I want to say that there was physics in the PowerPoint that was presented to my child, but now hearing, are we not having physics? That's a little surprising. Or AP Bio. I mean, I know that there's a new section on IB, but how do we get continuity to our curriculum and also the offerings from school to school? And and my question is, you know, I would like to see us as a committee of doers rather than just ideas, meaning that how do we execute it? So if we see a problem with continuity in science or continuity in math or continuity in reading curriculums, how do we make sure that we know what the org chart is, who's in charge, how can we find out what the issues are or what the challenges are, and how do we implore the board to make it easier or the administration to make it easier? So So my question is, who's in charge of the science curriculum? Is it Dr. Reynolds? Or I thought we had a STEM person, but I don't think he's around anymore. So what is the chain of command for science curriculum and math curriculum?
So let me just
The Google-
clarify some things, because there's a little, so you said a lot, and I'm glad you said what you said, because I think I want to just clarify. With regard to physics, we do have a physics teacher in the high school, the middle high school. Obviously physics is just a high school level. We did not have a physics last year. I think that's what Miss Washington said.
Oh,
Yes, that's what I was saying.
Quote
We
you.
didn't have- Right.
But
We
we
made
do
noise
have-
and fixed that.
Yes.
yeah.
So we didn't have it last year. So that's what I was saying. But now, so now you have physics, but now we don't have AP Bio and we don't have AP Environmental. We don't have a science research program. And I, you know, so that's my concern. So then what are we taking away next year? So that's why I'm bringing this up.
And so, and to clarify again, we do not have a STEAM director as we did in prior years, I think for 2 or 3 years straight. So that was a change budgetary wise at the beginning of the 2020-2021 school year. But I do have a question, I guess, for the people that talked about a science committee. I heard Mr. Morton, Mr. Simon. You guys said that you were on a science committee from years ago, 10 years ago or so. Where was this committee based? Was that out of a district level? Was that out of?
Yeah, it was a district level committee. We met with the then director of science, and we brought all these things up, and that we should be doing certain things from kindergarten all the way up to high school. Pointed out that the town of, because I was on the master plan committee that attracted Regeneron to Greenburgh, and said that we should have a direct contact to Regeneron. And that was, you know, that contact was made at a very low level, as opposed to making a contact at a management level at Regeneron. That was never done. The same thing that was never done with Tesla, making those, you know, you have to make those types of contact at a management level. You know, you just don't call up and ask for, you know.
Agreed.
That was never done with Regeneron. It was never done with Tesla. It was never done with Westchester County and the medical biotech center that they're putting in the Westchester Medical School. When Westchester Medical School and there's a full build out of Regeneron, Greenburgh will be the biotech center for the state of New York, and we don't have a direct contact.
Okay, so thank you for clarifying that. We are out of time, guys. We're only 16 minutes over, which is great for us. Does anyone else have anything pressing or urgent that they want to add for the end of the meeting before we end? Note of knowledge as well is that this meeting is every other month. However, we're having a special CEC meeting in February in order to talk.
Not February.
March.
Sorry.
Not March. March.
April.
April.
I'm going backwards. Now we're in April, specifically to talk about budget. So we are going to invite our interim assistant superintendent for business, Lisa Reynolds, to talk budget. As you probably have seen on social media, we're going to be presented with our draft 2 of the budget tomorrow at our Board of Ed meeting. So hopefully you all can tune in there as well. And is there anything else that we need to talk about before we adjourn the meeting?
Nothing pressing or urgent. I know we kind of slightly touched on the board having, you know, their mailing platform. I don't know if that was brought up again. I know we discussed pricing and stuff like that, but I don't know if there's been any further.
Are you talking about, Laser, when we wanted to have our own distribution,
Yes.
so that we can reach like a greater group?
Yeah.
I guess I would say, yeah,
I'm all
Laser
for it,
did.
yeah.
Laser did put it out there. Laser, if I'm correct, was it, I remember 8,000, I remember 12,000. So-
Yeah, it's a one-time $8,000 fee, and I think it's like 2,000 or 3,000 a year or something. It might be less than that, upkeep.
And that was for, if everybody remembers, that was for us to have our own listserv so that we don't miss people. I think it was quiet because we were going through COVID, and we still are now. So I don't know.
No, I only bring it up because it's, we could get it on the books for next year. Budget come June 1. I don't know, maybe sneaking on the technology or I don't know, someone's maybe talk to Lisa.
Well, I think that's a good point, Laser, but I think the first step needs to be that this committee needs to recommend to the board that we actually.
Does the communications committee make recommendations directly to the board, or do they make recommendations to us and then we pass it up? How does that work?
You lost me here. We're the community engagement and communications committee.
Correct. So anything that comes out of them comes out of us, right?
Yes.
So it's one level. Okay, so the communications committee comes back and says, here are our recommendations, and we go, yay, and then we pass it up. Okay, good.
So there is no separate communications committee. They are us and we are them.
We are them.
Yes.
So what I would, I thought you said something, Tracy, about maybe we should.
Do we need to then make a recommendation? Because we have 1, 2, 3 recommendations here already. Do we need to make a recommendation as a committee to the board that we purchase? You'll have to give me the name again for this.
Well, I guess my question is, should we, Laser, and you'll tell me, should we first figure out, Laser, is this something that can be, like, I feel like before we make a recommendation, if we can have information of how this will be taken care of. So like, if it's going to be on the technology line, I want us to be able to say, this is our recommendation, or please put this, like it could be on the technology, like something that people know, we can have a good idea of where it could be paid for, and we can know if that really is viable. That's the thing. I would hate for us to recommend something and not have an idea or not be able to get the information as to what budget line it can be on and is it even viable.
Okay. And Clint, what did you want to say?
Me? What?
Right.
I would also want to be reminded what this is. Is the Board of Ed listserv different than the GCSD listserv?
Yeah, so School Messenger, it's just parents and students. So the board a lot of times send messages out and it just goes to parents, not the community. So what this is the same thing the town uses. The town sends constant updates to the community. I think 18,000 members in the community. That's the only reason I recommend it, because a lot of times the messages go out, but it doesn't really get out there. The community members can't sign up for School Messenger.
So may I ask this then? So I understand the GCSD listserv pulls from
eSchool Plus.
Thank you. I couldn't think of it. Pulls from there, which is why the community cannot opt into that.
Correct.
Okay. And there's no way to make a little add-on to have the community opt into that.
No, there's like a manual option. This one, like with any subscription, you could cancel and join anytime you want.
Okay, and then so that eSchool listserv, it does the email blast and the text blast?
Email, text, and phone. Yes.
It's just whatever administrator chooses which method to.
Yeah, whatever parent chooses to opt into. Yes.
Okay, just because when I'm asking if there was a way for the community to opt into that, because I've seen other district websites basically say text 83502 to join our text messaging platform, and that's not possible. You're saying?
No, not. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. I mean, we did call. I did ask, and it's just not something they do. They just cater to parents and students.
I see more hands. I see Sarah Lazari and Evelyn McCormick.
Yes, I just wanted to say this sounded really familiar. familiar. So I just went back and looked at the meeting notes from November. And in bold on there, it says, we recommend that the BOE adopt the Civic Plus solution to reach non-parent or guardian community members in our school district. Kiana moved, Amy seconded. So we already recommended this. So I guess it's just kind of like pushing more on it.
Well, no. What that is we recommended it, but for some reason in the board meeting, even though I'm sure I read the minutes, it didn't come up as a recommendation. So I'll highlight it. And then when I read the unofficial minutes tomorrow, I'm going to at least read the recommendations that we get from our meeting. I'll make sure to bring that up as well. So that's why I was asking, do we need to recommend this? We're just going to recommend Civic Plus. And then are we going to leave it to our assistant superintendent for business to make a recommendation on where the cost would come from? What happens after that?
Yeah, I don't think it's our responsibility to recommend where the money comes from or what line. You know, this is an idea we have, and we suggest the district do it. Then it's up to the district to determine whether or not it's a good idea and where they can find the money to do it.
Okay, awesome. All right, I got that. Anything else before we adjourn? No, I see Evelyn. Sorry. Yes, Evelyn McCormick.
Okay, I just wanted to mention one thing about the budget newsletter. I have sent out actually a couple of emails to Lisa reminding her that we need to talk about the budget newsletter. But this last week I sent an email out to Lisa and Dr. Chase and possibly, I don't know if I copied anyone else, saying that our drop dead deadline, which is what we like to call it, for me receiving information about the budget, and generally, you know, Miguel and I gather pictures together, is March 22nd. It comes up pretty quickly. And here it's been, you know, a struggle every year to get that information. I did send them all a budget publication calendar, which I do backwards, counting from the budget vote backwards, so that everybody gets the calendar, the newsletter in the mail 2 weeks before the vote. Okay. And then we back it up from there when Miguel gets it, and we back it up from there when I get all the information. I haven't received any responses to my emails, but I will tune in tomorrow night because I think that will probably help me a lot. It's just that I really do need the cooperation, you know, to get the information in a timely fashion, which hasn't happened yet. So I'm hoping this is the year, but just so it's on your radar as a committee.
So are you looking just for numbers and layout for that? Or are you also looking for the justification behind the budget and what our goals are for the year?
Yeah, usually we have an FAQ, David, and you know, that kind of information, a letter from the superintendent. And then what we do, or what I like to do, is have the chart and continually make changes to the numbers in the chart. But at least we have, you know, a lot of stuff set up ahead of time. And I know that then I give Miguel a crush of stuff, you know, that he has maybe 1 week to get together and lay out. And I'm trying to give him a little bit more time as well, you know, but mostly I just want this thing to get out 2 weeks before the vote. And it can be on the website, you know, 2 weeks before the vote, so.
But when's the deadline date that we need to back up from?
Well, the deadline for me to try and get all the information that I need is around March 22nd, March 25th. It comes up pretty quickly. Then I usually need at least a week to pull everything together and rewrite stuff. It has to go through a corrections process with the administration where they go through it line by line, and Ivy does a really good job of doing that. Miguel needs to lay it out, get the pictures in all the right places.
So that's like now, then. If
the printer needs it two weeks ahead of time in order for him to print it and for it to be in homes 2 weeks before the vote. So that's a month before the vote that it needs to go to the printer.
So March 22nd, 25th is 3 weeks from now. And you want to back up 2 weeks before that. So that's by next week. So
No, March 22nd is when I need everything. And then we move on from there.
Oh, so between now and March 22nd.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I was like, well, that seems kind of
Yeah,
Okay, so what are you guys meeting or?
I haven't heard back. So I've sent Lisa 2 emails and I haven't heard back from her.
Okay.
But I'll tune
we
in
have a
tomorrow.
draft of the budget presentation already.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We're getting the
That's
budget
going to be part of
presentation
it.
tomorrow, so I guess we can ask too when the newsletter is coming out tomorrow. Okay. Anything else? Lastly, I need a volunteer for secretary next meeting. Thank you, Evelyn, for taking the note. Come on, you all look so interested. Who wants to take notes? Come on.
I can do it again if you need me to do it again.
I would like you to, but I'd like someone else to volunteer as well. No,
I'll do it, Tracy.
thank you. Who's that?
Hey,
Kelly.
Kelly Ross.
Oh, great, Kelly. Thank you so much. So then Kelly Ross is going to take notes next meeting. Thank you very much. And with that said, the meeting can be adjourned. It's 8:59 p.m. I need a motion for adjournment.
I so move. I so move.
Second.
Second,
Yes.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned.